Hi, welcome back to Some. This movie name will be revealed at the end. Please watch till the end. The premise of the movie is set in the time 2005. At the morning of the movie, it's recited that mortal elaboration is at a turning point. Utmost wisdom fabrication propositions prognosticate that the future of humans is going to be more advanced with smarter people. But because humans are formerly on the top of the food chain, their elaboration takes a turn for the worse. People grow dumber with time. In similar conditions, the U.S. Army librarian Corporal Joe Bowers is approached by his seniors, proposing him to be a part of an important trial. Joe, who had planned to stay a librarian till withdrawal, is irked, but he has to follow the orders. Also, we're taken to a private meeting between some high-ranking service officers. General Collins presents his ideas to the other officers. He says that the scientists have constructed a mortal hibernation cover that can save mortal beings for an indefinite quantum of time. It's so humans can save their finest men at their high and revive them in the time of need. They've chosen Joe to be the first test trial because he's the most average man in the service and has no immediate family. They also needed a woman for the trial, but they didn't have a perfect fit in the service. Hence, Collins chooses a courtesan named Rita. He shows the officers filmland of him and Rita's director upgrade partying together, making everyone in the room uncomfortable. He ends the donation by saying that the subjects will be put into the capsules hereafter, and the trial will go on for a time. Since the trial is largely classified, the officers present in the room are not allowed to partake the information with anyone. The coming day, Joe and Rita are together in a waiting room. Joe introduces himself and asks Rita what sector she's from. Not wanting to reveal that she's a courtesan, Rita says that she's a painter. Both of them are put on IV and into 2 mortal hibernation capsules. Rita freaks out and tries getting up, but Joe assures her the scientists know what they're doing. He tells her they will only be outside for a time, so it'll be impeccably fine. At last the two are sealed inside the capsules. Still, effects start to go wrong when Officer Collins is arrested in an tried harlotry ring. Along with him, Upgrade is also arrested for being the ringmaster of a harlotry ring. Hence, now no bone is there to look after the hibernation capsules. Because of a reproach, the military base is closed, and the erecting the capsules is demolished. Joe and Rita lie dormant in the cover as the times pass. Although effects look bad for the two, they're indeed worse for humanity. Humans begin to evolve stupider at a shocking rate. The map of average intelligence goes upwardly with time. Some people have high expedience that inheritable engineering and wisdom will be suitable to correct this trend of elaboration. But the smartest scientists in the world are fastening on stupid trials, like trying to reverse hair loss and protract constructions. In the meantime, the population explodes and intelligence continues to decline until the time 2505. All these times, people aren't suitable to break introductory mortal problems like scrap disposal. So the scrap has been piled for centuries with no plan whatsoever. This creates the Great Scrap Avalanche of 2505. And one day, a massive scrap landslide causes Joe's hibernation cover to end up in an arbitrary house. Joe gets out of the cover dizzy and confused. The person in the house is named Frito Pendejo. Frito fully ignores a pile of scrap and a foreigner in his house, and continues watching weird shows on television. He only gets up to ask Joe to not make a noise. We see that his settee also has a restroom, so he would have to get up time and again. He also kicks Joe out of the window. The outside world seems confusing to Joe, and he says to himself so much has changed in just a time. But little does he know he has entered the time 2505. He sees a group of people by the side of the road who talk in Shoptican grunts. Joe is suitable to understand them, but when he speaks like his normal tone, they call him slurs and chase him down. A confused Joe also feels dizzy, so he decides to go to a near sanitarium. There, he goes to the event and tells her he's from the army. The woman does understand anything, and just presses one of numerous buttons on her office. A voice asks Joe to do to the individual area on the right. Confused, he goes to drink some water from a water root, but it supplies an energy drink called the Brondo, rather of water. When Joe asks an observer where he can drink water, the man laughs at Joe for wanting to drink commodity they use in toilets. It's revealed that everyone in the world uses Brondo to bathe, drink, and for diurnal conditioning. while water is only used in toilets. Also, he goes to the individual area where he has to put entrapments into his mouth, observance, and anus. The health professional mismatches the entrapments that he formerly put into specific areas. A shocked Joe completes the procedure and is transferred to a croaker. While staying, he sees the date 2505 written on a magazine, but dismisses it as a misprint. The croaker arrives and answers all of Joe's questions about his health. With kick burrow. He also declares Joe retarded and asks him to pay a figure of 5 billion bones. Just also, Joe notices 2505 written on the bill. He eventually realizes that he has actually been inside the cover for 500 times. Joe nearly doesn't believe it and goes to the window, only to be surprised to see the current condition of the megacity. Structures are collapsing onto each other, and some are held together by ropes. In addition, the megacity is filled with scrap. Meanwhile, the croaker freaks out because Joe doesn't have a citizen tattoo on his wrist. Joe panics and runs down from the sanitarium while the croaker calls the police on him for not paying his sanitarium bills. A voice narrates that Joe has woken up to a world in extremity. The frugality is in deep neglect. A great dust coliseum has destroyed all food inventories, and the #1 movie in the country is called Burrow. He goes to watch the movie that won Oscars, only to gawk at someone's behind for 90 straight twinkles. At night, he's arrested for being unscannable and taken to a court. There, he's given a counsel who happens to be Fredo Pendejo, the Joe that Joe met the first in 2505. Fredo makes fun of him as everyone in the court laughs. Joe presents his case sensibly and explains why he's unscannable, but the attorneys and judge just laugh at him. At last, the judge declares him shamefaced and rulings him to jail. Meanwhile, Rita also comes out of the cover and is trying to communicate her director and Swain upgrade. She's unprofitable as the phone asks her for 2,000 bones to communicate him. Just also, she's approached by a man who she tricks and gets his plutocrat. At the same time, Joe is taken to an robotic tattoo place where the citizens are given the identification tattoo that makes them scannable. The machine asks him his name, but Joe starts to explain that he's not sure what's going on. Because of this, the machine reads his name as Not Sure and tattoos it on his wrist. The people around him also start calling him Not Sure. Also, he's taken to an breadth and command test and asked questions about introductory edition. Joe answers all of them rightly and is surprised to see people around him not being suitable to identify shapes. After that, he's taken to the captivity. He eventually begins to realize that everyone in the current world is stupid. So, he tells the guard he's supposed to get out of jail moment. The stupid guard lets him walk down, but the admonitions catch that an capture has ran down, and the police chase him down the thoroughfares. Joe ever gets down from them and goes to Fredo's place again. He believes that someone has created a time machine within the once 500 times, and asks Fredo's help in getting one. Fredo doesn't agree on helping Joe, but Joe tricks him by saying that he'll give him 8 billion bones for his help. Ultimately, Fredo reveals that he knows where the time machine is. Just also, the police knock on the door looking for Joe. The two run down through the window and drive to the gallery. On their way, they meet Rita, who's still scamming the same Joe. Rita gets in the auto and is upset that Upgrade will come looking for the plutocrat she owes him, still unconscious that he's formerly dead. As they drive, Commodity from outside the auto reviews Joe's wrist, and the police are notified of his position. The auto's battery runs out, and they get out of it. Right later, the police approach the auto and fire at it. Soon, a bunch of people join and start to fight. Joe, Fredo, and Rita run down an expedience of getting to the time machine. Joe also takes the two to Costco, which is now the center of all trades. He indeed claims to have studied law in Costco. As they stay for the metro, Rita goes to the restroom. Before she returns, Joe's wrist is accidentally scrutinized, and the whole place is advised of a miscreant's presence. The metro arrives and Fredo gets on it, but Joe waits for Rita only to be caught by the police. Still, this time, he's taken to the White House rather of captivity. There, a confused Joe meets the chairman Camacho and his registers. Camacho makes fun of him, saying that he allowed Joe's head would be bigger because he's smart. It turns out that the IQ test Joe took in the captivity surprised everyone, because he'd the loftiest command they had ever seen. Hence, because of his intelligence, the chairman makes Joe the new clerk of interior. To Joe's surprise, they also declare him the smartest man in the world. Everyone also goes to the House of Represent, in where the chairman announces that the problems of food failure and dust storm will be answered by their new clerk of interior, Mr. Not Sure. He also promises to pardon Joe's captivity time if he solves the problem. After that, A press meeting is held where the registers ask Joe to say commodity smart. Joe says some arbitrary complicated words making them believe that he's in fact smart. Also, Joe asks Frito to draw a chart of the position of the time machine until he distracts the registers. Latterly, he takes them to a field where crops are supposed to be grown. He also asks them to get Rita because she might be suitable to help them with the crops. Now, everyone is at the field where Frito intimately hands Joe the chart. At the same time, Rita arrives there. Joe takes her away planning to run down using the chart, but his plan fails when he sees that Frito's chart is just a line. Also, Joe realizes that people have been soddening the crops with the energy drink Brondo. He holds a press meeting to start using water rather of Brondo. The registers suppose his idea is atrocious. So, rather of logic with them, he simply tells them that he can talk to the shops, and they want water. Joe is unknown that the energy drink had caused swab to develop over topsoil, which killed shops and caused the dust storms. Hence, he's actually working their problems. For many days everything goes as planned, but soon, the energy drink Brondo's stocks drop to zero because of the dropped product. This leaves half the population jobless. They hoot outside the White House. The news announces that Joe is taken to court for making people jobless and is proven to be shamefaced. He's doomed to one night in recuperation. In the New World, recuperation is when a miscreant is chased by a large truck in an arena as a crowd of followership cheers for the truck. The recuperation substantially ends with the miscreant's death. Joe is taken to the arena while Rita sorely returns to the White House, ready to go to the time machine with Frito. The recuperation is broadcasted on public TV. Joe is chased by a massive payoff truck as he drives around in a small auto. Just also, Rita notices a rose factory growing outdoors. She realizes that Joe's idea to water-soak the shops had worked and asks Frito to take her to the arena. She plans to broadcast the crops on the TV, so Joe's discipline would be pardoned. Meanwhile, Joe is still trying to save his life from the death truck. Rita reaches there on time and backhanders a cameraman to go with Frito and film the growing crops. She also goes to the monitoring room and takes over the control panel. Frito eventually gets to the field and flicks the crops. The clip is broadcasted on the large screen. Seeing this, Chairman Camacho saves Joe from being killed and absolutions his discipline, making the crowd erupt in cheers. Now, everyone is at a frat party in the White House. Rita reveals that she doesn't want to return home because she likes the future better. Joe is surprised but doesn't force her to come with him. The two say their last farewell, but before Joe leaves, the chairman calls him on the stage and declares him the new vice chairman. Everyone looks at Joe with hopeful eyes, making him agree to stay in 2505. Also, one person calls the time machine a stupid lift. Frito takes a confused Joe to the machine, and it's eventually revealed that the time machine is actually a children's lift. The scene cuts many months laterally, when Joe is tagged as the chairman of the United States, and Rita becomes his woman and the First Lady. Under his leadership, a new period actualized, and people hoped that humans could formally again be smart. He indeed has 3 kitties with Rita, who are said to be the smartest kitties in the world. This is the American science fiction comedy film called Idiocracy. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to watch more Cine summaries like this, turn on notifications and press the like button to support us.